Hello, Youest You listener. Hello. I am so excited to be here with you. If we're new to each other, welcome. I'm Julie. I am your graciously and gratefully your host, and I have a guest on today that I've been so excited about for a long time. I'm so excited for you to get to meet him. I just want to share that if you love this episode or any of my episodes, please share it with others. Share it with 3, 4, 5. Share it with as many people as you would like. Share it with others so that they can also be really connected and hear these amazing interviews and conversations and how to be your Youest You. So thank you for rating, reviewing, sharing, and for being here. We're honored to be in your earbuds. All right. So today I'm interviewing and chatting with Soul Cole. His real name is Brandon Coleman, although now goes by Soul Cole. And he is a retired NFL player for the New Orleans Saints. After suffering a career-ending injury in 2018, he transitioned into the health and wellness space, becoming a certified health and wellness coach. We got to meet each other when I was teaching at Georgetown University. We'll get into that. But dealing with that physical pain and depression and anxiety, Soul found his way back to himself by utilizing tools such as therapy, meditation, yoga, breathwork, and sound healing. He was able to reprogram his body, and that is where the Soul Cole that's here with us today, emerged with a different kind of strength from his new garnered practices. His own personal experiences with injury and loss have given him a very unique and profound respect for the value of not only physical, but mental and emotional health, which we will be talking about. Understanding the significance of the tools he received was a catalyst for him achieving his health and wellness coaching certificate at Georgetown University, and then continuing his study as well and completing the MBSR, the Mindfulness-Based Stress Reduction Program from the Mindfulness Center at Brown University School of Public Health. Soul is committed to helping others refine and redefine their lives by giving them tools to attain balance, intention, and wellness. Soul Cole is now a flow facilitator, mental performance coach, certified health coach, and sound healing practitioner. He's intense, he's driven, and he is all about leaning on faith, values, family, morality, and being of service. So I got to say, we met, Soul, when I was teaching at Georgetown earlier this year. And I remember you wearing this like amazing golden angel necklace. And I'm like, who is this being that is radiating? Like you just emanated super high vibes. And in learning about you and your story, I was like, you got to come on this podcast. So it is awesome, my friend, to have you here today.
It's truly an honor. Thank you, Julie.
I think what would be helpful, because your story, just having the injury and having to go through something, I would imagine that was pretty traumatic. Maybe just to give a little bit of background. I know you started your football career, I believe you were at Rutgers, which is my dad's alma mater as well, the Scarlet Knights, or I think that's what they're called.
There you go, Scarlet Knights.
Yes, because I used to have sweatshirts and like his ring, and anyhow, but I digress. So maybe just share with us a little bit about what life looked like, the track you were on, and then, this big kind of traumatic shift.
Yeah, sure. So going back to Rutgers, going up the turnpike, I played football for a few years there. But then it got to a point where I left school early. I had 9 credits left, and I made a business decision. I decided to bet on myself. Rutgers was transitioning from one conference to the Big Ten, and I realized that, all right, they're doing what's best for them as an institution, and I need to do what's best for me as as my brand. And so I bet on myself. I entered into the draft. I was projected to go, third to fifth round, and I was like, I like those odds. Let's go. And I only had 9 credits left to come back and finish, so it wasn't like I had a full semester. It was literally, half. And I had a plan in place to with my academic advisor. I told my mom, listen, I'm promise you I'm coming back to finish out. I'm not going to leave these 9 credits hanging. So I entered into the draft. I got invited to the combine, got to, put up, my best effort, but I'm coming off an injury. So I kind of got a red flag, if you will, on my report card and ended up falling out of the draft and ended up going undrafted. Found my way invited to a training camp with the New Orleans Saints, who had a good track record with keeping undrafted free agents on their roster if they earned a spot. So I like those odds. I got a chance to transition from the cold to the humid in the south, but we had climate control because they had a dome, and that was something that was intriguing to me. Got to play with a future Hall of Fame quarterback in Drew Brees, and eventually, found my way, with my foot in the door. Didn't make the 53-man roster that first year. Found my way on the practice squad, which is similar to my story at Rutgers because I was redshirted my freshman year. So mentally, I was prepared for that season, and I was able to persevere and had the resilience that I needed to overcome, the stress and anxiety that came with that. And fast forward during my playing career, I was very productive on the field. Never got to be a household name, and that's cool. Got to later in the career and got injured. Had neck surgery and hip surgery a month apart from each other, and that sent me down a deep path of depression, of anxiety. And that was the most vulnerable that I've ever been physically. Not being able to walk. I'm on crutches for like 8 weeks. I'm not able to turn my neck. That was very vulnerable for me. And at the time, I did not know how to receive love and support from family, friends, loved ones who were in my life at that time. I literally shut down. I didn't know what emotional intelligence was. Was not um, I was not signing up to go talk to a therapist or a sports psychiatrist because of the stigma around it, and especially in the African American community, and especially as a black man. So I just went down this dark tunnel, and but I had to go through that valley. I had to go through those shadows and and go within. Really, right? Everything else on the outside was making all this noise, but I like to say when I get into that space, when I've had surgeries, that's when God gets my undivided attention. He needs my undivided attention because he has to. It's time for me to listen to what he has to tell me, and it might not be pretty, and it might not be the way I, wanted to hear it, but it's what I needed at that time. Now, hindsight, that happened in 2018. For context, that happened in 2018, and so I had to go through that season of trauma, emotional, mental, physical, and spiritual trauma before 2020 happened, before the pandemic happened. I needed to go through my own turmoil internally to prepare me for what was about to happen externally. And also prepare me for how I should now be able to show up in that space, not only for myself, but for others who will now be looking for um, people like me to show up with a message that's about love, about respect, about peace, about oneness, and I didn't know that, but now that I'm where we're in 2023, I can see that all unfolding and how God's hand was on me the whole time, and to be able to guide me through that season. So I hope that brings us up to speed a little bit, to from my football career to here.
Yeah, wow. Well, there's a couple things you said. First of all, I thought that was very beautiful, very poignant. I would imagine that must have been so challenging at such a deep visceral level, soul, to like, have finally made it, have
Hmm.
this injury, have these surgeries. You said on your neck and your
Yeah,
back.
so C4, C5, I had nerve damage that was happening, shooting down my right arm to my three fingers, causing numbness. And I was playing through that because I've been conditioned as, to play through pain, to play and not say anything about it. So I didn't say anything about it for weeks.
Mm,
And I was continuing to play through it and make it worse. And I didn't know what it mean. I didn't know that my body was sending me signals for me to listen to it
yeah.
and to pick up on that. And because I was just so disconnected from that mind body relationship, I thought they were all separate entities. And now I understand that they're all interconnected, through the breath. And had I been more aware of that, those signals, I could have prevented some of the things. But yes, it did take a toll on me emotionally, mentally, and physically and spiritually. Just having to, I'm thinking I had to rehab just my physical aspect, and I needed to rehab in all those categories. And that's
Mm,
really what started to take place in 2018 for me.
mm. Before we talk about the rehabbing and what started to shift in you, and realizing there's a connection here, we're not separate, like mind and body and emotions are separate, which I think many might still feel or condition to think. And I love what you also said about God getting your attention. Like it had to be through these surgeries, through these
Hmm.
experiences where, I just imagine like your ears perked up, like
Hmm.
you were listening, you were, kind of in this, I almost imagine like a surrender point, perhaps.
Nah, exactly. Surrender. I had to surrender my ego, because at the time I was chasing validation, at this career, to because I didn't get drafted. I felt like I deserved or earned, that long-term contract to be able to, get what I was due. And I had got hurt right before that opportunity came to pass, and I was, my pride was hurt, my ego was bruised, and I'm realizing, like, man, I'm at this fork in the road. Like, I'm literally considering going back after having neck surgery. I considered it for months, rehabbing with the intention. That's how I realized how powerful my mind was. I was telling myself that I was going to be the comeback player of the year, and that's how I was willing myself to rehab, and that's how. And then it got to the point. Obviously, it didn't happen, but that's how powerful my mind was. I was really committed to going back
Mm,
after having the neck surgery and willing to risk my well being
yeah.
for uh, a business that doesn't even remember my name.
Right.
you
Wow.
know and I had to take that step back and realize, like, bro, like, and at the time I was 25, so I'm like, bro, you really have to take a step back and look at the bigger picture, right? Obviously, I want to be able to live a life that I'm not bound to a wheelchair, for the rest of my life, and being paralyzed. I'm not, I want to be able to, run around with my kids, my grandkids, and live that, healthy life. And, I had to, walk away. And that was a tough thing to do, but I don't regret it. I'm
Mm.
grateful that I chose myself.
Ooh, I've got chills, Soul, as I'm listening to you. This is so powerful because the other thing I'm hearing is really this like head-on collision in a way with your ego, and this
Mhm.
is something, oh my gosh, everyone listening, can, and maybe, they didn't get into the NFL or
Right, right,
that level, but there comes a point where you really were head to head with this aspect of you, almost like smaller case self versus higher case, self, higher
right,
self,
right.
where it was like, am I gonna, and you'd said like my mindset was such a way you almost considered really putting yourself at massive risk. And really, like, I just keep imaging and getting this image of you confronting your ego right in front of your face, that pride, that
Mhm,
wanting that recognition. And it's so relatable, especially because you
mhm.
given so much of your time in life. You left Rutgers a
I,
little
sac-
early. Like,
I sacrificed 20 years. I've been playing this game since I was 6 years old. I sacrificed 20 years to get to this point and to get so close and to just feel like, dang, like
yeah,
I didn't quite get there, but I made it. But
yeah.
it was tough.
Talk to me about what I'd love to hear, because I think the other thing you said that was really, really hit me deeply in the heart is just, first of all, not being comfortable, not, it wasn't maybe modeled. You didn't, getting help, support, seeking out therapy, other modalities, like that was not in the realm of, it sounds like what was in the realm of what you were used to or what you were even thinking was
Mhm.
acceptable. What was the turning point for you that had you, like, I don't know if it was one certain thing or was it a cascading of events, but what actually was the turning point where you started to realize, okay, I can't do this myself and there's got to be other ways?
I think in that 2018 year, that year rocked my world. I started the year January, had surgery on my neck. February had surgery on my hip. Um, you know, um, Later, a couple months later, my partner at the time, we split up because I didn't know how to communicate what I was going through, and I just shut down. Um, Later that year, my grandfather transitioned, which was my rock. I shut down. I'm just like, oh my gosh, I'm being hit from every different angle right now, and I'm like, life happened to me for like the first time at once. And it was just like, are you kidding me right now? Like, can I get a break? Can I catch a breath? And that all of that started to, yeah, just like that, it just all started to pile up and just overflow, and it had to, I could no longer hold on to that internally, right? And I remember from 2018 to like 2021, I cried the most in that 3 year window that I've ever cried in my life. And it was because I've been holding on to so much trauma from years before that I had just buried and suppressed. That I'm like, bro, that it's okay not to be okay. You've been carrying this persona, the Superman that you can never show any sign of weakness or vulnerability because you might be taken advantage of or exposed or whatever the case may be. But I do remember I finally made that decision for therapy, at the end of closer to the end of 2019. And that was one of the best things. And I had been looking for a few months before that, but it was, the process of finding a therapist is not easy, right? And then let's say you find one, it's not always that connection out of the gate. And then for me, which was big was representation as a therapist. I didn't find a therapist who looked like me, and was a man, until later on. And once I did, I was able to really open up because I was like, I don't need to vent or I don't need to vet this person out. They've been in the game for a long time. Let's just run it. Let's get everything. I told them first day, I said, get your paper and pen out because we about to get to it. Like, I don't I don't want to waste any of this time. Even though it's uncomfortable, I got to get this off my chest. And so
Mm.
that started that release process started to take that weight off my shoulders, that monkey off my back, and just allow me the freedom to really express myself, to learn, like, like I said, it's okay not to be okay.
Mm. That's really, I think I'm just writing that reminder down for all of us, for everyone, listening. Like, it is okay to not be okay. And I can only imagine, like, what you're saying, just not being necessarily, finding a therapist, finding healers, finding people that not only in the African American community, but that are also male. I
Hmm.
can imagine that must have been a challenge. And
It's a small
yeah,
window.
yeah, I mean, And I know we'll get to kind of what you've been doing recently to be
Right.
that person that others can come to and find.
Hmm.
We were talking a little bit before we started about the power, of meditation. We were talking about, I know, for those listening, you might know we both love Insight Timer. It's where I
Right. Right.
started my meditation journey. I don't know, 10 years ago. I have a lot of meditations up there. You're into Insight Timer. Maybe share a little bit because I think this is important. Sometimes people don't realize you start where you start, and sometimes
Yeah.
I know it can be a minute to start. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah. So for me, my first introduction to meditation actually came, during that 2018 year as well. I'm already down bad. I feel like, I'm very faith based, believe in God, and I was praying all the time, but I felt like that wasn't getting to it the way that I feel like I needed to. So meditation came across my radar through another inspiration, from a celebrity that I look up to, J. Cole. He was doing an interview, similar to how we doing, and he just said, "Man, I have a meditation practice. It's not perfect. These are the reasons why it helps me." And it just helps me calm my anxiety before I get on the stage or before I do an interview. And he was very simple, but he was very authentic about it, and that got me to be curious, and that sent me to Insight Timer, and I picked up that app and started exploring obviously how um, wide the range the Insight Timer can go, from meditations to talks to music, and it has just so much to offer. It was overwhelming, but what I found was a lack of diversity of voices in this on the app that sounded like me, that I could resonate with, and that to me also made me curious. I'm like, why is there uh, this huge drop off? Right? There's like, I feel like I really want to, deepen my practice, but I'm also finding a roadblock, or some tension in diving further because of the lack of diversity of voices in this space, and especially male voices. So it took me a while to get over that hump, and then I realized that maybe you need to be that voice. Maybe you need to be that change. And this is before I knew that my voice was what it is. Like, I never took the time to listen to my voice the way that others hear me. So during the pandemic, I brought a microphone and I set up a little studio in my closet, and I started recording myself, and, freestyling meditations, because I would listen to them so much. The way my mind works, I started to break them down as if I'm watching film on football. Like, I had to reverse engineer, like, okay, what's this framework here that they're using to create this ultimate experience? And I started to break that down and implement that my own way. And I just, and then from that came soul flow. And I just started flowing from the soul, and just speaking, from spirit.
hello, my friend. It's Julie. I'm just pausing for a moment. I just wanted to share because I realize you may not know this, that in addition to being a host of the Youest You podcast, that I'm also a board certified master life coach. I got my master's degree in coaching. I am obsessed with this work. I love supporting big hearted, driven individuals that really want to actualize your dream, your vision, your goals. And if that's you, if you are looking for some extra support, for someone who can hold that space and really help you to identify what's deeper within, how you want to express and share more of your Youest You, please connect further. I do have some availability, would be honored to chat with you. I do meet with all of my potential people that I'm going to work with. And so if that's speaking to you, if that's a heart flare, if you're looking for greater support to really have accountability, to have someone help you to create those action items, but also dig deeper into what is lighting you up, what's moving you, what do you want to create in this world? How do you want to design your best life? If you would like support to do that, please feel free to reach out. You can actually book a time to chat with me at juliereisler.com/chat. It's as easy as that. I would love to connect anyhow, love to be a support in any way to be your Youest You. All right, back to the episode. Lots of love as always. Oh my gosh. Soul, what's so powerful to me, and I think for everyone listening, is just you taking what started as like, the little mustard seed of hope,
Yep,
right?
that's
That
it. That's it. That's all I needed.
you had the little thing, little tiny seed, and you went all in and started with, the meditating, tracking it, and realizing it sounds like you started to feel different, feel more connected. Um, Love how you just saw this opening, like there's not enough voices represented, and you just found your voice. It's so interesting to me too. I was thinking about how this was probably that 2019 right up until 2020. Well, we know lives
hmm
changed so much in 2020. What started to emerge for you in 2020 and then through the pandemic?
I started to deepen my practice. So before the pandemic started, actually, I was on, Insight Timer keeps tracks of, how often, you're meditating, whether it's, 30 days, they'll keep your stars and all of that. So I was locked into that before the pandemic happened. And so I believe I was already at like 100 days of consistent of just 5 minutes. I wasn't doing 30 minutes. I didn't have that endurance or stamina daily. I wanted low, uh, I wanted low on the quantity, and I just would over time it was going to build. So 5 minutes a day was what I committed to, and I got to 100 days, and then the pandemic happened. I was already in the flow. I was already in the momentum. So once we all got to stay in the crib, I just kept going. I had no excuse to break my flow. I'm now that 100 turned into 365 so fast. And then I looked up and I realized, I said, bro, do you realize this is the only thing that you've ever done every day other than brushing your teeth, and taking a shower that is not that you've committed to. And I was like, wow, I didn't realize how powerful that was and how powerful my mind was. And then that just, like I said, that sent me down that rabbit hole even further. Like one seed led to another, right? Yoga was another seed that was planted years ago. I always thought that yoga was the actual physical practice, right? The asanas. Then I had to realize that yoga is much more expansive than just the physical practice. And when exploring into that, right, understanding, picked up the seed of breath work, got fascinated with how that is connected to everything. Meditation. And then the last one was sound healing. Once I heard sound in a different element, I'll never forget the first sound I heard that really struck a chord in me was a buffalo drum. I heard that in real time during a group Reiki session, and it just unlocked something inside of me, and I became curious and went down that rabbit hole. And now, I consider myself sound man.
I love that. I love that title. What got you into health and wellness coaching and into
hmm
MBSR? Because I know when we met, and I'm so excited to share, you are now
Yeah.
officially certified. Georgetown has a
It's
phenomenal
official.
program. Yeah, it's
So
no
yeah,
joke
so
there.
it got me to that space. I think 2022 at the beginning of 2022, I think that program came across my radar, and I started researching and doing all the informational, webinars and things of that nature. And it was intriguing to me. One, you got to realize that I never thought I would go back to school after I finished and went back the first time. I thought it was over with. But this was intriguing to me. And I was like, I could see myself, um, I could see the value that this could add to the track that I'm on. and access to the information was also key. And then, like I said, for me to be that change, to be that representation, um, for people who look like me, people who sound like me, I knew how impactful that could be because I was looking for that. And I realized, okay, this is that next thing that, is aligned with the direction that God is calling me to go. So let me answer that call in this way. And that was completely out of my comfort zone again. And by that, I mean, I'm coming from a background that, I'm in a locker room environment of other grown men, every day. And I transitioned into a small cohort classroom of 11 women and three female instructors as well. And I'm the only male. And that is a complete shift of energy. That's when I really understood this, the masculine energy and feminine energy, like is completely different. But being comfortable being in that space showed me a lot about who I am. I feel like if I wasn't doing the work from 2018 to 2022 before I got to that, I wouldn't have been ready to see that cohort through all the way. Now, even though it's hybrid, it's not all in person, I still had to show up and be in that space, and hold it down. I think I did. I know I did. Showed up as my authentic self. Everybody embraced me. Everybody loved me. And so by the time you got a chance to come in as a guest facilitator, you was able to see that light. You was able to see that aura, but you really didn't have the backstory of what I had been through to get to be confident enough to show up in that space with that light.
It's so true. And, thinking back to, I remember walking in and I was like, wow, this takes someone special to really like join this smaller, intimate cohort that is really pretty much female orient, not, we've had men go through it for sure. We've had
Right, right,
men
right.
in it before. Usually there's one or two, sometimes a few more. But what was so cool, Sol, is I remember you just holding your space, your presence, your power in this very, you were talking about masculine and feminine energy. And it's interesting because you have, of course, the masculine vessel, yet
Mm-hmm.
there was so much, you have so much of both energies, meaning that ability to, we talked about that flow, you have a lot of
Yeah,
water signs, like just
yeah.
being really present. One of the things I noticed with you right away was your presence,
Mm-hmm.
your ability to just really like be there, be here now, and connect in and stay centered. And I mean, really, like you have a very special presence that I'm imagining has been cultivated, and that it's also interesting. And I am curious about not just your faith but also your spiritual connection, how that has evolved,
Yeah,
knowing that this happened for you right before the pandemic, and that you kind of took what you were already, these practices that were working, and rolled into a really challenging time, and it sounds like actually got to be of greater service because you kept with it.
yeah, nah, you hit the nail on the head. I think during that time, going back to the balancing of the energies, I didn't, I would have never been able to say like, yeah, I have feminine energy, in me, to say that confidently, right? I just always associating I'm a masculine vessel, so that I have masculine energy. But, that's so far from the truth that we all, male and female, possess both masculine and feminine energy. And most of our society operates in masculine energy, male and female, right? And that's that fight or flight energy. But understanding me going through that healing phase, which I'm still going through it, introduced me to my own feminine energy in a way that I hadn't been exposed to before, and allowed me to, tap into that love and kindness, tap into that nurturing, tap into that patience, that gentleness and that grace that I had to learn how to give myself. I had to learn how to love myself. and being okay with crying. And that was a part of it, and sticking with it. I do remember making the decision that this is the direction I'm going in. I'm going all in. This was before the pandemic. I knew that, all right, you going down this rabbit hole, ain't no going back. I do remember saying I do remember saying that. And I'm like, because once you open your spiritual eye, that's it.
Hmm.
So that leading that into the faith and the spirituality, deepening that connection to God, allowed me to really see God in everything, everywhere, um, and know that His love was always there the whole time. Like He know that He never left me or forsake me, even when it felt like I was abandoned. Going through the healing of the physical surgeries, knowing that it was all a part of the divine order and divine alignment, and to see how everything has been interconnected, you know, from the beginning to just now, um, is increasing my faith to continue to do what I'm doing, to continue to serve in the way that I'm serving, because now I realize, I acknowledge that I am a vessel, and that I am a spirit that's living in this vessel, and I just show up as this avatar, and in this body.
Mm, that's really, it's beautifully said. It's really beautifully said. I am curious on that same note, in that same realm.
Mm,
How has I love what you said, by the way, that you're just opening your spiritual eye, that really, you don't go back. Like, as that opens, um, under it, what I'm also hearing, soul, is this desire to be of greater service,
mm,
and especially for other men, other African American men, but other men and women, it sounds both,
yeah.
but to be of service in a greater way. And I'm curious, because I know you've also done study and work in breath work,
Right.
sound healing as well. How has breath work,
Hmm.
and coaching might be in there, but I'm curious with breath work because it's a very powerful modality. How has that nurtured your spiritual opening? How's that opened your spiritual eye? What has that given you at a more deeper spiritual level, would you say?
Understanding the foundations of breathing, the science of breathing, um, in the last few years, and it's still very new for me. It's not like I've spent, you know 10, 20 years studying this, and so I still feel like I'm an infant in this. But what I've taken in so far, I wish I would have had access to this when I was a kid. I wish I would have had learned how to do a simple box breathing technique when I was in elementary school, to help me calm my energy down. Because I was all over, I was bouncing all over the walls. Right? You can only imagine the energy that I was bringing as an elementary kid. And so being able to manage those emotions, I wish I had access to that, those tools. Breathwork is a tool. And from a spiritual standpoint, I realized I had to go back and look at this. In the word, it says God breathed life into man. We overlook the fact that He breathed life. Like His breath is so powerful, it created life. And we take that for granted. We also take for granted the breaths that you and I are having now, and we don't even know that we're doing it. It's on our autonomic nervous system. And so I think once I started to consciously become aware of my breath and to sit with my breath, it allowed me to connect to the God within. And when you hear a meditation guide, they say, let's drop in, let's drop into the body, let's drop in, and let's bring our awareness to the breath. I think, even just taking that for granted, because it can sound routine, but that's really the practice. Um, when your mind meditation, when your mind wanders off, they say, guide it back to the breath. And that's where the present moment is. And that's the practice, not getting frustrated with, your mind wandering off. That's what the mind is going to do. We have roughly 70,000 thoughts throughout the course of a day, right? The mind is going to have thoughts. It's okay. Just like clouds in the sky, just let them pass by and bring it back to the breath. And the breath was something that is teaching me patience, is teaching me stillness and connecting to, our breath also has a sound. And, we connect to, your ujjayi or oceanic breathing. That's a certain technique of breathing that creates a sound and a vibration in the body, and that is also stimulating certain nerves within the body and calming the body down. And then that just started me on another rabbit hole of energy and vibration and sound and frequency, and that opened up a whole nother Pandora's box in its own, but it's all connected.
And this was one of the reasons I was like, I'm feeling this like angel of a person. Like you literally were emanating this high vibrational frequency. And I'm like, what is he doing? I gotta
Yeah.
know. We gotta have a chat about it. And
It's
I
the breath work. It's the sound. I got into the sound. Like, I like facilitating for others, but I just created a studio in my own crib, and I just be walking around hitting my hitting my bowls and my chimes and my drums for myself. I be tuning myself up. Once I realized that we are, that we can be tuned just like a piano and a guitar, I was like, dang, like I need to tune my body up right quick. I need a tune up.
totally. Oh my gosh. I should have had you get an instrument before we started. We could use one at the end, but that's okay. We'll have to do round two where we do little sound healing, unless you have something really close by.
I got something close by.
All right, I knew it. I'm like, he's gonna have something right nearby. Well, I was
Just
like,
let me know when you want me to
all
pull it.
right. I was like, don't you know? I feel like everyone who's listening, I'm like, hey, you. I feel like you can answer me right now. I'm like, don't you want to hear soul? Like, you do. I do.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
before we get to we're gonna do a little like off the cuff sound
For sure.
healing for everyone. I am curious. One of the last things I do want to ask that I think I'm just so curious with you as you're tuning into what's important to you when you think about, legacy, when you think
Mm.
about making a bigger impact, like what does that look like for you, Soul? What do you envision?
Yeah, I think you actually took the nail. You hit the nail on the head with impact. I want my legacy to be, that impact, um, reaching the souls of so many others in this world that we live in, and getting and guiding them home, essentially remembering their way home, to the divine source that which we all come from, coming back home to the light, which we all are. And you know, I think that's what my impact is going to be. That's, I talked about being a servant. Is one of, my favorite scriptures, is which aligns with my why, is to hear, well done, my good and faithful servant. When it's all said and done, when it's my turn, to transition, to the next space, is to hear, well done, my good and faithful servant. You have been, faithful with what I have blessed you with. And now, I will bless you with more. So, and that's, me paraphrasing, but that's what's driving me. I know that I'm here for much more greater than just myself. Um, and I actually get joy from serving others.
That is so, that's gorgeous.
Mm,
It's really, you can feel that.
mm,
And for those who are watching this, we have it, of course, also in video on YouTube. I just could feel that, like, from your crown to your root, like that is
mm.
aligned 100%. And you are doing that, you are being that servant, that that vessel,
Mhm.
offering much greater impact in so many ways. I, that this term being your Youest You, I'm always curious, right? Well, I'll save what it means to me, but what does that mean to you, Soul? What does that look like today?
I think what was intriguing when you first brought it up in Georgetown and during our class, it aligned with me because it reminded me of the journey that I've been on, and it's been I think that's one of the terms is self-realization. Also, soul searching. Um, to find that you is to look within. Um, and in order to look within, you have to be vulnerable enough to like stand in that feeling of uncomfortability, because that's where the growth happens, right? You don't really know who you are until you go through the fire, till you get challenged, till you go through some defeats and losses, and come out with the lessons, um, and the experience and the exposure to now add value to who you truly are. The you is the God within you. And I think that's what it ultimately means to me.
Oh my gosh. Okay. That is probably one of the most powerful, meaningful ways I've really heard it be defined.
Outside of you, how you define it.
Yeah, outside of what I would say, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Although
yeah,
the way you just said it, I'm like, no,
yeah.
actually, that kind of is even not to compare. But I'm like,
No,
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 I don't know if I've ever
it
said it.
resonates. It just resonates.
It resonates. Wow, that's no, it's really gorgeous. And it captured. I'm like, that is exactly this
Mm-hmm.
point. And I don't know that I'd ever heard it said or said it that way. That it is literally finding the God within you.
Mm-hmm.
Which in a way it reminds me of. I just went to my first yoga class today after a year and a half of a minor back injury myself, and I was feeling so grateful to be able to bend over to do things I
Mm-hmm.
didn't think I was going to be able to do. And at the end, we ended with namaste, right? And that
Mm-hmm.
the divine light in I honors the divine light in you. And I'm like, there's a similarity with this.
Mm-hmm.
And you are so aligned with your Youest You. I can tell you, it was the first thing I remember after seeing that crazy, beautiful angel that you were wearing. That I was like, where do I get that? It's
Yeah.
so powerful.
I
It
haven't
really
seen it since. I've had this one piece. I only have one pendant, and I found it in 2015. She found me in 2015, and I haven't seen anything like her since.
amazing.
And yeah,
Amazing. Well, I want to thank you. We're going to do a little, I'm so excited. Thank you for the little musical aspect. I just want to tell everyone we're going to have, as always, show notes. Soul's website is soulcolethebrand.com. I will have all of this listed. He does have an amazing retreat coming up in September, a Joshua Tree retreat. And I highly recommend anything that he's doing. And then we'll also have all of his links, like social media. So thank you for doing this little sound. Thank you for you. Thank you for being here, for being an immense, just vessel of light, honestly, and excited to have the off the cuff sound healing.
like that's what's going with the flow is about, right?
Yeah, so of course it's right there. All right, I'm going to mute myself to make sure we are just focusing on you, my friend.
All right.
Take it
So
away.
wherever you are in this moment, I invite you to just settle in, whether you're sitting in a chair or lying down in your bed or on the couch, and just start to bring your awareness to your breath as it flows in and out through your nose. Begin to allow yourself to surrender to this moment, giving yourself permission to be comfortable, whatever that looks like for you. As you continue to breathe, I invite you to set an intention for this journey of sound healing. as you allow these waves to wash over. And when you're ready, start to come back into this moment, back to the breath, back into your body. Thank you for allowing me to guide you. This sound healing meditation providing sweet, soothing sensations brought to you by Soul Cold Meditations. Ashe.
Woo. Namaste. Aho. That
Mm,
was beautiful. By the way, I could listen to your voice forever. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Thank
just
you.
gotta drop in sometimes.
Yeah, I'm like, I got to find out when you're doing more of these on live because that was right away. I'm like, ooh, I can feel just
Mhm.
settling in. Thank you for being here today, for just showing up as the full, powerful, embodied divine light that you are, and for really being your Youest You, for being the God force that lives within you, for
Mm.
sharing that. It was such an honor to get to teach you and be with you at Georgetown and frankly today, and to share you with everyone, with our amazing souls around
Yeah,
the world that are tuning in, and just honor you so much, Soul. Thank you for your gracious generosity, your heart, and who you are.
I received that. Thank you so much for holding space for me, Julie. It's been my honor to share my story on your platform as well. So continue to be your you is you, and to all the listeners, continue to let your heart shine, let your soul smile. I know it's been a while.
Mm. All right, my beloved listener, did you hear that? Let your heart shine and your soul smile. I think we might need to add that somewhere, and we'll give Cole total credit. That is so beautiful. As always, thank you, thank you, thank you for making the time, the effort, the energy to be here together. I hope that I can't imagine how it would not, but I hope this conversation elevated your own real deep connection to your light, your God force within you, and may you continue to be well. May you be blessed. May you know the goodness, the love, the divinity that lies within you. May you continue to be your Youest You with lots of love. Mwah.